The suggested reading for today, Friday of the fourth week of Lent, is from the Gospel of John, chapter 7, verse 28 and 29. We're often tempted to explain suffering in terms of the will of God. Not only can this evoke anger and frustration, but it is also false. God's will is not a label that we can put on unhappy situations. God wants to bring us joy, not pain, peace, not war, healing, not suffering. Therefore, instead of declaring everything and anything to be the will of God, we must be willing to ask ourselves where, in the midst of our pain and suffering, we can discern the presence of God. When, however, we discover that our listening leads us to suffering, our suffering neighbors, we can go to them with joyful knowledge that love brings us there. We're poor listeners because we're afraid that there might be something other than love in God. For this reason, we find it hard simply to listen and obey. But Jesus truly listened and obeyed because he knew the Father's love. He came to include us in that divine obedience. He wanted to lead us to the Father, that we could enjoy the same intimacy that he did. When we come to recognize that in and through Jesus, we're called to be daughters and sons of God, we listen to him, our loving Father, with total trust and surrender. We will also see that we're invited to be no less compassionate than Jesus. When obedience becomes our first and only concern, it is then that we too move into a world with compassion, to feel the suffering of the world deeply, that through our compassion we may give new life to others.